I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about she still hangs out with her ex. Okay, so when we get into a relationship and start dating somebody, we have to understand that they have a past. And sometimes people keep exes in their life. Now you have to always be careful. You don't want to ignore these things because it could potentially lead to cheating or hooking up or getting back with that person. But sometimes people genuinely care about each other in a way that is only platonic, that both those people have gotten over the situation and don't want to date each other anymore. Now, it gets pretty murky, right? I'm going to be honest, this is a tough one because we don't want to be controlling with our partner and say, you can't talk to this person or you can't do these things. You know, we really want them to say, I understand how this makes you feel or why it makes you uncomfortable, and these are the things that I'm going to do about it. You know, if somebody's very transparent about the situation, if they are, willing to let you meet that person and, talk with the person and show you that, look, we are no longer interested in each other in that way, but we like to keep up every once in a while, that's a different situation than some sneaky stuff that can happen, or maybe someone secretly wants to be with an ex, and so they're trying to keep them in their life. Obviously, this is going to be an issue that many of you are going to be opinionated about, and rightfully so. So let's get into this email coaching. And let's kind of go over the facts and what we see before you give your opinion on why or why this may not be appropriate, right? Because every situation is really different and every breakup is different. There are certain exes that I occasionally talk with from time to time to catch up with here or there, and there's nothing to it. They are happy, they're in a relationship, or they're married, and we're genuinely happy for each other, and there's just no romantic feelings that way anymore. It's more of, I just care about how you're doing in life. So those things can happen, especially when it's not right after a breakup, right? Like these women that I'm talking about, they're over 10 years old, 15 years old plus. So it's not like these are people that I just broke up with 6 months ago and there could be some lingering stuff going on. So there's a lot of factors you want to consider. And this email coaching is about a couple in their 40s, okay? And he says that they have been dating for about 6 months and are not broken up at this time. But you're going to see that there are certainly issues going on here. They both live separately and don't have any kids. They said, Dear Craig, thank you for the help I've gotten from you so far. I'm hoping you don't have to rehash my entire life, as I've already had email coaching with you a while ago, a Skype with Victoria, and you made a video about me called Never Give Up on Yourself. So if you want to go and see that video before you watch this one, it's called Never Give Up on Yourself. You can go and then come check this one out again. He says, I completed the workbooks and the creative healing course. So he's done a tremendous amount of work so far. And I can tell you guys, when you go through the workbooks or the course, go through them again. You will be surprised how much more your unconscious picks up the second time around. Trust me, I've heard so many people tell me that they did it and then they went back and did it again and they learned so much more. He says, to summarize, I had a very dysfunctional childhood with a violent dad and an anxious mother, and I could barely get through the first grade without crying or urinating on myself. And I think that was very traumatic for him. And as an adult, you got to remember this happened to you when you were small. You were at like 6 years old at the time. Don't beat yourself up and look at it through the lens of, I was an adult who did these things. You were a small, small child when you did those things. And I know it was really traumatic for you, but just keep reminding yourself, look, I'm in my 40s now. That was a long time ago. I'm in a much healthier place. That's a nice way to remind your unconscious when it's struggling. My anxious attachment style was to such a high degree that I would sometimes vomit. A lot of anxiety as a kid. Since I did the courses, I became so aware of it that I've really done a great job with my new relationship. I do not double text ever. Everything is kept very light and funny. I'm able to catch myself if anything creeps up that I recognize as anxious. However, okay, now we're going to see where the issues are coming in. Even though he's done a lot of work on himself, there are still some issues coming for him. Let's see what it is. Let's call his ex Laura, okay? Laura has a group of guy friends. I'm perfectly fine with that. Some of them have wives or girlfriends, and sometimes her guy friends come over her apartment for holidays. None of that bothers me. She has one particular guy friend who's an ex-boyfriend, who she hangs out with alone, and who she doesn't want to know about me. Okay, now we're starting to see some red flags, right? Okay, hanging out with an ex-boyfriend alone, a lot of people are not going to feel comfortable with that. And this guy doesn't even know about him. And that makes it much worse. Okay, let's go on. Let's get some more info here. She goes to concerts alone with him. As you can imagine, this is tough for me. She was very, very open about it from the beginning. Since the first day I started speaking to her, she is a little bit of a tomboy, so maybe that contributes to it. But to see someone who needs alone time with their ex-boyfriend is very uncomfortable. I agree. I think most people would feel uncomfortable with this. We want our partner to recognize that it's making us uncomfortable and choose not to do that for our benefit rather than us ask them to stop doing this. But there's some more info here, okay? She says she doesn't want him to know about me because she has a boundary up with him and he no longer gets a front seat to her life or gets to know her personal life. Could it be true? Maybe, but that doesn't make me feel too comfortable. It makes me feel like, okay, this could be true, but do you really have feelings for this guy still? I don't know when this breakup was. I don't know how long they dated. Obviously, that comes into play. I don't know if he has a girlfriend. Maybe this comes up. Let's see. Let's get some more info here. Okay. The problem with this is that if he comes over her house in a group of friends, I will not be invited. See, this isn't going to make you feel good. Okay, and there's more here. I wanted to go to a trivia night at the bar she goes to, but I couldn't because he was hosting. So you wonder if she's really hiding this guy. Now, I know a lot of people are going to jump to that conclusion and she's definitely hiding him. You could be right. That could be the truth. We don't know. Maybe she's avoidant and doesn't want this guy to know about him. I don't know. We can assume, it's easy to assume that it's because she still wants to date him or there's some romantic interest in there. And I'm certainly not ruling that out. But, we're getting to the point where it's like, regardless, she should be very concerned with how he feels, even if there's nothing going on there, and say, look, you're right. I care about you. I want to make this work with you. And I'm going to have to either incorporate you into my life with him, where he knows who you are, and make sure that we're not spending time alone, things of that nature, to make him feel like a priority. Because that's part of what's going on here. So not only does she hang out with him alone, but his whereabouts determine my whereabouts. Okay, let's go on a little bit more. When I'm invited over her house for something like St. Patrick's Day, for example, I can't help but wonder if it's because he canceled or couldn't make it. So he doesn't feel like a priority. He's like, am I second choice here? He couldn't come, so that's why you invited me? Now, the group of friends that know him and the ex, both of them, are they like telling this guy, yes, she's seeing someone, but, you know, we don't know maybe if there's some transparency going on with this group of friends, and the group of friends is telling the ex-boyfriend, yeah, we hang out with this guy, he's a good guy. I don't know. But it could make a difference, right? I told her that I would never tell her what to do, but I would like to be with someone who considers how the decisions they make me feel. And her reply was, to which degree do you think I owe you that at 6 months? Okay. So I don't know the tone of this reply, but it would definitely make a big difference. Is it a fair question? Is she saying to him genuinely, okay, but, you know, we've been together for like 6 months. What am I supposed to do here? Where are we at with this relationship? And she's trying to genuinely assess that? Or is it more of a sarcastic, demeaning tone, which would be a completely different story? But if she's saying like, okay, so what do we owe each other here at 6 months? What are we doing? And trying to get on the same page, that would be a good sign. She said she's willing to compromise down the road. She also said that she understands that this is a very bitter pill for a guy to swallow, and that she understands why it makes me uncomfortable. So far, this is the best thing I've heard from her, okay? This is the thing that I like the most. She said she's willing to compromise. Down the road, I'm guessing she means when they become more committed or this relationship feels more serious. Because, you know, everybody's different where they're at in 6 months. You know, some people aren't as committed as other people. So I don't know what they've discussed or haven't discussed. And she's acknowledging, she's showing some empathy, she's showing some understanding, and I do like that. So that is the best thing that I've heard from her so far. He says, I don't understand why she would continue seeing him alone, especially if she admits that it's detrimental for her dating life. I have no problem with her group settings. Well, like I said, maybe she's not sure where you're at with this relationship. Maybe, you know, she cares about this guy as a friend, as a person, and she's thinking, well, I'm not sure if I want to give that up yet unless I know where we're headed. Or if you're wanting, you know, to be a lot more exclusive, or we're going to have a future here, I'm going to be a lot more likely to go on board with cutting people out of my life. Or maybe, like I said, she has feelings for this guy. I don't know when that breakup was or how long they dated. Obviously, that would be important information too. By the way, the reason she broke up, or he broke up with her, was the oddest reason I ever heard in my life. She caught him on a dating app. He broke up with her and said, I need to be with someone who gives me butterflies throughout the entire relationship, not just the beginning. Oh, this poor delusional fool. Oh, man. So naive. You're not going to find somebody that's always going to give you butterflies, okay? We have a very naive, avoidant guy here that thinks he's always going to get butterflies. What, 10 years into the relationship? It doesn't work like that, man. It just doesn't work like that. Um, Especially for a guy in this situation. Uh, it's a fantasy. It's a farce. It's not based on reality. It's not based on true love. It's not based on love. Think about love. Is love always getting butterflies from somebody? And for a guy to say it, isn't it a little bit more unusual than a woman saying it? I certainly see that in my coaching calls. So it tells me this guy probably knows very, very little about romantic relationships and is living in a fantasy. And he didn't own up to it, from what I could tell, took no accountability for being on dating apps and got caught. And so I just wonder, for her going through that, did that make her want him more because now she felt rejected? It's hard to say. This guy says, this guy clearly watched way too many Disney movies. Yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Not that you can't get butterflies, but you're not going to have them all the time. And just the way he put that as the reason, it's like, come on, man. You're never going to be happy. You're always going to be chasing lust. I want you to know that I completely quit drinking several months ago. Sounds like you're proud of that. Sounds like drinking was an issue for you. So good for you if that was one of your goals. Growing up, I managed to teach myself a decent amount of piano and music production. I was able to get some of my music into an independent film last year, which got me on the IMDb page. I'm someone who couldn't even pass the first grade, and you should be proud of yourself. That's great. I honestly don't think that this is a matter of insecurity. We are supposed to go to dinner tonight with her friends, and I think I just want to push the conversation off a little bit longer until I hear from you. Another quick example is that she invited me to her house, oddly, at 10 o'clock to go to a bonfire. I thought maybe he had been there earlier and left, or she got invited and I asked. I thought maybe he had been there earlier and left, or she had invited him. And I asked her. She said she didn't invite him, that he had band practice that night, so clearly she considered it or spoke to him about it once. And again, I felt like a second option. Okay, so we can see what's going on here. Now he's constantly feeling like a second option. Are you only inviting me because he couldn't go? Or am I only getting to go to this thing because he couldn't make it? Or he left early and now I can come? That is not going to make somebody feel good. And that's going to make you wonder. It's going to make you feel like you're not important or their other person is being prioritized. So obviously, this would be concerning and upsetting to just about anybody in it. And he's done a good job of staying calm, not losing emotional self-control. But I think there's very real cause for concern here. Is she genuinely willing to compromise and cut this guy out of her life or change the dynamics once you have these conversations? Obviously, that would be a good sign. But we don't know if there's suspicious activity going on here or there's ill intent. And until you can get some more information, you gotta be careful. Many people would not be okay with this. Totally understand. I would totally understand if anybody watching this video said, this would be enough for me to end this relationship and not trust them. I get it. Like I said, we don't know when they broke up. We don't know how long they dated. We know that the breakup was over a silly reason, and this guy probably doesn't have any kind of understanding of relationships. I'm sorry, there's just a tad more here. I know this is a separate email, but if you can please attach this to the previous one. Her ex also messages her 7 days a week in the form of memes, even when we're at dinner, and she doesn't do anything about it because she doesn't want him to know her personal life. I apologize for the separate email. Sorry, I forgot that part was at the end there. That obviously makes a big difference. 7 days a week, I think she's got to have a conversation with him and say, look, I am dating somebody. She doesn't have to say who if she doesn't feel comfortable yet, but she needs to at least say, look, I am dating somebody now. You didn't want to be with me, and now I have had to move on, and I'm dating somebody else. So I don't mind us catching up or talking every once in a while, but you're reaching out too much to me, and it makes me feel uncomfortable, or it's making my partner feel uncomfortable. And so we're going to have to limit our interactions here from here on out. I think that this is way too often. Now, like I said, if they broke up 10 years ago, it's kind of different. Maybe they dated 3 weeks 10 years ago. That's different than obviously they broke up 6 months ago and dated for 2 years or something like that. But look, anybody's going to feel uncomfortable with this amount of communication. So I'd be cautious unless she said she's willing and wants to make you comfortable, that she wants to cut him out of her life more because she cares about you and this is something that she wants. If she's only doing it because you're trying to convince her, then she might secretly continue this. But if she's doing it because she genuinely cares about you and where this relationship is going, that's a big difference. But I think we can all say safely that this is definitely cause for concern, some red flags here, and everybody watching this video is probably saying you need to be really careful because at the very least, she should be making you the priority. You're her partner if you're exclusive, and it sounds like you were, right? So she should be more concerned with how her behavior is making you feel. I don't know. Maybe she's a cheater. Maybe she's a liar. Maybe she's hooking up with this guy at night. Or maybe none of that's happening. Everybody's different. Obviously, you got to be careful here. This doesn't look good. And, like I said, the only thing that I saw that I really liked was that she did seem willing to compromise, and she did understand how much it was affecting the people that she dates. Maybe this is her way of slowing down her commitments to new people, keeping this guy in her life. And so she can't get too close to you. So maybe she unconsciously does this to keep people from getting too close. A lot of people do things unconsciously. This is why we say you want to talk about stuff. You want to get into therapy. You want to do stuff like my workbooks or my creative healing course to work through this stuff. He's done that. And that's why he's handled himself so confidently. But you got to be careful, man, because we don't know what she's up to. Okay? Maybe everything she's saying is true. Maybe there's some suspicious stuff going on. Maybe there's some lying and cheating going on. Back off. Be careful, protect yourself, get more information, and proceed with caution. You have to know whether or not she's authentically going to care about you and do something about it, or she's just going to lie and manipulate or keep things from you. You seem to think she was being very transparent about everything and upfront. That's a good sign. But certainly, even if she's very transparent, it's still making you feel like secondary backup plans and options. And I think it would be healthy for you to find some time to let her know that in a non-dramatic way. Like, sometimes I wonder, if you only choose to see me because he can't show up. And the reason I'm feeling like that is because you don't want me to go there when he's around or go to trivia night when he's there. And so it's tough because I'd like to see her be a lot more transparent with this guy, because that would also tell us, okay, that she's less likely to be doing something sneaky to try and get this guy back if she's willing to say, no, this is my boyfriend. I really like him. I want you to meet him. Please respect our relationship. He's treating me well. And we are going to have to change how often we see each other. I know you understand because we're not together anymore. Anything like acting like an adult is going to make someone feel a lot more comfortable. We haven't seen that yet, so proceed with caution. Okay, there's a lot going on here, and I'm looking forward to see all those opinions. I think I know which way they're going to go in the comment section. If you'd like to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom video calls. You can get my creative healing course and my workbooks only on the website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.